My name is Emily Carter. I'm 32 years old. And the strange thing about the moment your life begins to fall apart is that it never feels like a disaster when it starts. There's no crash, no screaming, no warning sign flashing red. Sometimes, it begins with something so ordinary, you almost miss it. It was a Tuesday night. The kind of night that should have meant nothing. Dinner at home, grilled chicken, a half-finished glass of wine sitting between us like a quiet agreement. Normal. Safe. Predictable. That was the word I used to love most about my life with Daniel. Predictable. Daniel Hayes, 29. Charming in that effortless way that made people trust him too quickly. The kind of man who didn't have to try too hard because someone else was always trying for him. In this case, that someone was me. I owned the condo, covered the mortgage, utilities, even his car payment, something modest but still mine. Daniel worked part-time at a boutique that sold things neither of us needed, but I didn't mind. At least, I told myself I didn't. Because I loved him. Because I thought we were building something. Because I believed stability meant sacrifice. That night, he sat across from me, slowly turning his glass between his fingers. That should have been my first warning. Daniel only did that when he was rehearsing something in his head. "I've been thinking," he said. I smiled lightly. That's usually dangerous. He didn't smile back. And just like that, something inside my chest tightened. "About us," he continued. "About the future." I set my fork down. There it was. That shift in the air. The one you feel before something breaks. But he didn't break up with me. No. That would have been easier. Instead, he introduced me to a slow kind of unraveling. Her name was Julia Peters. At first, she was just a name that showed up too often. Julia thinks this. Julia said that. Julia and I had the funniest lunch. It was subtle. Harmless, even. Until it wasn't. 6 months ago, she didn't exist in our life. Now, she was everywhere. Late-night texts, quick drinks after work that somehow stretched past 10 p.m. Inside jokes I wasn't part of. A tone in his voice when he talked about her that felt too soft, too familiar, too intimate. I brought it up once. Calmly. Carefully. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I feel a little weird about how much time you're spending with Julia." I remember the pause. The way his expression changed, not into guilt, but into something sharper. Defensive. Almost annoyed. "Wow," he said. Just one word. But it hit like a slap. "So I can't have female friends now?" I blinked. "That's not what I said. You're being insecure, Emily." There it was. That word. The one that makes you question your own instincts. "She's just a friend," he continued. God, I thought you were more confident than this. I felt my throat tighten. I'm not saying you can't have friends, it's honestly a turnoff. That was the moment I folded. Not because he convinced me, but because I wanted peace more than I wanted truth. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. And just like that, I became the problem. It didn't stop there. It never does. Every boundary I tried to set became another accusation. Maybe don't text her goodnight at midnight? Insecure. Maybe don't cancel plans with me for her? Controlling. Maybe just prioritize us sometimes? Paranoid. And every time, I apologized. I adjusted. I shrank. Until last Tuesday. He posted it. A picture from brunch. The one I paid for. Of course. Sunlight, coffee, that effortless curated happiness he was so good at performing. And over it, a quote. Simple. Clean. Deadly. A real woman isn't insecure about her man having female friends. If you can't handle it, you're not mature enough for a real relationship. He didn't tag me. He didn't need to. Everyone who knew us knew. I stared at the screen for a long time, my stomach twisting, my chest burning. But the strangest feeling wasn't anger. It was clarity. This wasn't confusion anymore. This wasn't misunderstanding. This was strategy. He wasn't defending himself. He was conditioning me. Publicly. Slowly. Until I stopped questioning him at all. And in that moment, something inside me finally snapped into place. I typed one word under his post. Facts. He liked it almost instantly. Of course he did. He thought he'd won. But here's the thing Daniel didn't know. For the past year, he'd been using my money to pay for a personal trainer. Her name was Nina. I'd met her once or twice. Professional. Focused. The kind of woman who didn't waste time on nonsense. And about an hour after I commented, facts, I sent her a message. Subject, urgent session booking. Hi Nina, this is Emily, Daniel's girlfriend. I'd like to book a private session tomorrow. I also have a slightly unusual, purely professional request. I'm willing to pay double your rate for your time and discretion. She replied in 10 minutes. See you tomorrow, 4 p.m. Right on time. The next afternoon, I walked into the gym. Nina was already there. She looked at me, curious but calm. What's the request? She asked. I took a breath. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel small. This might sound strange, I said. My boyfriend has been disrespectful. I paused. I'm not here to train. She raised an eyebrow slightly. I want to pay you for 2 hours, I continued. In cash, right now. Her expression didn't change. Okay. I just need one thing in return. I met her eyes. A photo. Silence. A gym selfie, I clarified. Just us. Something that looks natural. I exhaled slowly. It's stupid. Petty. I know. I hesitated. But he started this game. Nina studied me for a long moment. Then, a small, knowing smile appeared. Daniel, she said. Not a question. I nodded. The one whose girlfriend always looks like she's trying to convince herself she's okay, she added. That hit harder than I expected. Yeah, I said quietly. That's me. She tilted her head, then shrugged lightly. All right, she said. Let's make it look good. And just like that, the game changed. We took 5 photos. The best one? Perfect. Me on the bench press. Focused. Composed. Strong. Nina behind me, spotting. Professional. Close. Comfortable. Not inappropriate, but just enough to make someone wonder. Exactly the way Julia had made me wonder for months. I sat in my car afterward, phone in my hand, heart steady. And then I posted it. Caption. Needed a change in my routine. Glad I finally trained with the best in the business. Thanks for pushing me, Nina. Hashtag new goals, hashtag focus, hashtag growth. I tagged her. I tagged the gym. And then I drove home. 20 minutes later, my phone started exploding. 3 missed calls. 5 messages. Then 10. Who is that? Why are you with Nina? Are you serious right now? Emily, answer me. I sat in the driveway, staring at the screen. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. Because now, he finally understood what it felt like. And we were just getting started. I walked inside slowly. The condo was quiet. Daniel wasn't home. Of course he wasn't. Probably with Julia. Probably telling her how exhausting I was. How insecure. How dramatic. How I didn't understand boundaries. My phone kept lighting up. I didn't answer. Not yet. I wanted him to sit with it. The uncertainty. The jealousy. The ugly little questions he had trained me to swallow. Then his comment appeared under my post. WTF is this, Emily? Answer your phone. I stared at it. Then I typed back, just taking your advice. A real man isn't insecure about his woman having male friends, right? Nina's just a friend. Stop being paranoid. I hit send. Then turned off my phone. For a moment, there was silence. Real silence. The kind I hadn't felt in months. Then I walked to the spare room, pulled out the moving boxes, and began packing Daniel's things. Shoes first. Then jackets. Then the expensive watches he loved but never paid for. Every drawer felt like an autopsy. Every folded shirt reminded me how much of my life he had occupied, without ever truly building anything with me. The affair hurt. The lies hurt. But the public humiliation, the smugness, the hypocrisy, that was what sealed it. At 7:13 p.m., the front door slammed open. Emily! Daniel stormed in like the betrayed one. His face was flushed, his hair messy, his eyes bright with anger. What the hell is your problem? I didn't turn around. I kept folding one of his sweaters. Which boxes are your shoes going in? What? I looked at him calmly. Your shoes, black box or brown box? He stared at me like I'd spoken another language. Are you kidding me? You're breaking up with me because I got mad about your shady gym picture? I finally stood. No, Daniel. My voice surprised me. It didn't shake. I'm breaking up with you because you're sleeping with Julia. The color drained from his face. Just like that. All that righteous anger disappeared. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. I went back to packing. I'm not sleeping with anyone, he snapped. She's my friend. Cool, I said. Then you can go stay with your friend. His jaw tightened. You're insane. I stopped. Slowly turned. No, insane was me apologizing for having instincts. He took a step closer. You're throwing me out? Yes. This is my home, too. No, I said quietly. It's the home I paid for while you performed commitment in it. His face twisted. You can't do this. I can. Then I said the thing I'd been holding in my chest all day. I saw the hotel reservation. He froze. The one you forgot to log out of on my laptop. His mouth parted slightly. The one booked for this weekend. Silence. The one under Mr. Daniel Hayes and Ms. Julia Peters. For the first time, Daniel had nothing to say. Not immediately. Not smoothly. Not with that practiced, wounded tone. Then his expression hardened. You went through my things. You left it open on the dining table. That's private. So was our relationship. His eyes flashed. If you weren't so controlling, maybe I wouldn't have needed someone who actually listened to me. There it was. Not an apology. Not shame. A confession wrapped in blame. I nodded once. Thank you. He frowned. For what? For making this easy. Then the storm came. Screaming. Crying. Accusations. He called me cold. Cruel. Manipulative. He said I was humiliating him because I couldn't handle the truth. He said Julia made him feel free. Then, 5 minutes later, he swore nothing had happened. By the end, he was begging. Not for me. For the life. For the condo. The phone plan. The car. The comfort. Emily, don't do this tonight, he said, voice suddenly soft. Let's sleep on it. I almost laughed. Because that was Daniel. Destroy everything slowly. Then ask for one more night inside the house someone else built. You have 1 hour, I said. Pack what you need. His eyes went glassy. You'll regret this. Maybe. I taped a box shut. But not as much as I regret ignoring myself. He grabbed an overnight bag, his laptop, some clothes. At the door, he turned back. His face was wet, but his voice was sharp. "You'll be begging me to come back in a week." I looked at him. Really looked. At the man I had loved. At the boy who mistook being cared for as being owed. "No, Daniel," I said. "I think I'm done begging." He slammed the door so hard, a framed photo fell from the wall. The glass cracked across our smiling faces. I stood there for a long moment, then picked it up, looked at the picture, and dropped it into the trash. Only after I heard his car peel out of the parking lot. The car I paid for. Did I call a 24-hour locksmith? That night, while someone changed the locks, I sat on the kitchen floor surrounded by boxes. I expected to cry. I didn't. Not then. I just felt hollow. Like someone had finally turned off a loud machine that had been running in my head for months. By midnight, the condo had a new deadbolt. A new garage code. And for the first time in 4 years, Daniel no longer had a key to my life. For 2 days, there was silence. No calls. No messages. No dramatic apologies or desperate attempts to come back. At first, it felt strange. Then it felt intentional. Daniel was waiting. I knew that. He was sitting somewhere, probably at Julia's, telling himself I'd cool off, that I'd realize I overreacted, that I'd call. Apologize. Invite him back. Because that's how it had always worked. But this time, I didn't. Instead, I finished packing. Every shirt. Every shoe. Every trace of him that had quietly taken up space in my home. By the end, there were more than 20 boxes stacked neatly by the front door. A physical inventory of everything he'd brought into my life. And everything I was ready to let go of. Then I handled the details. The quiet, unglamorous parts of ending something for real. His phone. He was on my family plan. I logged in, transferred his number to a prepaid SIM, and disconnected it from my account. No warning. No discussion. Just done. The bank account. A small shared one for groceries. I moved the remaining money back into my personal account. Closed it. The car. That one mattered. The Mazda. Nice. Reliable. Entirely in my name. I called the dealership the next morning. "I'm interested in selling my 2022 Mazda CX-5. They gave me a number. It was fair. I booked an appointment immediately. By that afternoon, it was gone. I didn't feel guilty. Not even a little. Because here's the truth I had been avoiding for years. Daniel didn't just live with me. He lived off me. And that chapter was over. Saturday night, 8:42 p.m. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. "My phone isn't working. What did you do?" I stared at it. Didn't respond. Another message. "Emily, open the door. My key isn't working." I walked to the front door quietly, looked through the peephole. There he was. Daniel, standing on my doorstep, angry, frustrated, still convinced this was a misunderstanding he could talk his way out of. I opened the door just a crack. "What?" His eyes flared. "What do you mean, what? My key doesn't work. My phone is dead. What is wrong with you?" "I changed the locks," I said calmly. "And I canceled your phone plan." His expression shifted from anger to disbelief. "You can't just do that." "We broke up." He let out a short, incredulous laugh. "You're being dramatic." I didn't respond. "My stuff is in there," he said, trying to push the door open. I blocked it. "No," I said. "Your belongings are here." I pointed behind me. He leaned, trying to see. The stack of boxes. All 23 of them. Neatly labeled. His face went pale. "You packed everything?" "Yes." "You're serious?" "Yes." You can't keep me out of my own home. It's not your home. His voice rose. I lived here as a guest. That word hit him hard.
I contributed, he snapped. I bought groceries.
You existed, I corrected gently. That's not the same thing.
His hands clenched.
You're unbelievable.
Then leave.
Instead, he pulled out his phone. Or tried to. Then remembered. You know what, he said. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. And he did. Right there. On my doorstep. He told them I had illegally locked him out. That I was holding his belongings hostage. That I had snapped. I closed the door. Waited. 30 minutes later, 2 officers arrived. Daniel had repositioned himself perfectly. Sitting on the steps. Head in his hands. The picture of someone wronged. As soon as they stepped out of the car, he stood. Officer, thank you. She locked me out. She took everything. She's being irrational. The older officer looked tired. The younger one looked curious. Ma'am, the older one said, turning to me. I stepped forward. Come. Prepared. This is my condo, I said, handing over my ID and mortgage statement. Daniel was living here as my boyfriend. We broke up. He left. I packed his belongings. He's free to take them. He's lying, Daniel cut in. She's abusive. The officer held up a hand. Sir, is your name on the deed? Silence. No. Do you pay rent? No. The officer nodded slowly, then turned to me. You can't withhold his belongings. I'm not, I said, stepping aside. I opened the door fully, revealing the wall of boxes. He can take them now. Daniel stared. This wasn't part of his script. I can't take all that tonight, he stammered. I came in the car. He stopped. Because he saw it. The empty parking spot. His car was gone. Where's the car? He asked slowly. I met his eyes. I sold it. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. You what? I sold my car, I corrected calmly. The one I was letting you use. His lips parted, but no sound came out. Even the officers looked surprised. That's theft, Daniel finally said weakly. She stole my car. The younger officer glanced at me. Is the vehicle registered to you? Yes. Do you have proof? I handed over the bill of sale. The older officer sighed. Sir, this is a civil matter. Daniel's entire posture collapsed. This isn't happening, he muttered. It is, I said quietly. He looked at the boxes again. At the door. At me. For the first time since I'd known him, he looked small. I'll come back, he said finally. Do that, I replied. He walked away slowly, not yelling, not threatening, just deflated. And for the first time in 4 years, I closed my door knowing exactly who I was, without him. The letter arrived 3 days later. Thick envelope, cheap legal letterhead, too many bolded words trying too hard to sound important. Illegal eviction, conversion of property, emotional distress. And my personal favorite, immediate compensation of $50,000 or provision of a comparable vehicle. I stared at it for a long moment, then laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was predictable. Daniel had always believed consequences were negotiable, that if he pushed hard enough, someone else would absorb the cost. I scanned the letter and sent it to the corporate lawyer my company used. His reply came an hour later. This is mostly intimidation. Don't respond. They don't have a case, but be ready. They may escalate. He was right. A week later, I was served. Small claims court. $10,000. I read through the filing slowly, carefully. Then again. It was fiction. Stolen KitchenAid mixer, $500. Designer handbags, $1,500. Luxury floor lamp, $700. Emotional distress from loss of vehicle, $2,800. Family heirloom diamond earrings, $1,500. I actually said it out loud. Earrings? I had never seen those earrings. Not once. But that wasn't even the worst part. The mixer? I bought it. The lamp? Also mine. The handbags? I watched him pack them. This wasn't anger anymore. This was strategy. He wasn't trying to win. He was trying to overwhelm, to exhaust me, to make me settle just to make it stop. But there was one thing Daniel had never understood about me. I don't panic. I prepare. That weekend, I built a binder. Every receipt, every bank statement, every transaction from the past 3 years. Mortgage payments, utility bills, car loan documents, the bill of sale, Amazon order history for the mixer, furniture invoices for the lamp, and then something extra. Screenshots. His post, my comment, his meltdown. A timeline. Clean, precise, impossible to argue with. Because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about truth. 3 weeks later, we stood in court. Daniel arrived with Julia and his father. Mark Hayes, the kind of man who had never once been told no without trying to buy his way around it. Daniel wore black, like he was attending a funeral. Julia didn't look at me, not once. And Mark? He looked at me like I was a problem that needed solving. When our case was called, we stepped forward. The judge was a woman in her 50s. Sharp eyes. No patience. Mr. Hayes, she said, you filed this claim. You have 10 minutes. Daniel stood. And just like that, the performance began. Your Honor, he said, voice soft, controlled. Emily became unstable. When I tried to create space, she retaliated. She locked me out, sold my car, and kept my personal belongings. I almost smiled. He sounded convincing. If you didn't know him. What belongings? The judge asked. The mixer, my lamp, my bags, a pause, and my grandmother's diamond earrings. There it was again. The judge nodded slowly, then turned to me. Ms. Carter? I stood. Calm. Steady. I have documentation, I said. I handed over the binder. 1 copy for her, 1 for him. Daniel didn't even open his. Tab A, I said, contains mortgage and utility statements showing I am the sole financial contributor to the residence. The judge flipped pages. Tab B is the purchase receipt for the mixer, paid by me, delivered to my address. Another page turn. Tab C, the lamp, same situation. Daniel shifted beside me. Tab D is a photo taken on the day Mr. Hayes collected his belongings. It shows him placing the handbags he claims were stolen into his vehicle. The judge paused, looked up, at him. His jaw tightened. And the earrings? She asked. I met her gaze. I've never seen them. Silence. The judge turned back to Daniel. Do you have proof these earrings exist? He hesitated. Then, no, but photos? Insurance? No. She nodded once, then closed the binder. Mr. Hayes, she said, You have filed a claim for items that either belong to Ms. Carter or were returned to you. You have provided no evidence for the remaining claims. His face drained. What about the car? He said quickly. She sold my car. Was the vehicle in your name? The judge asked. No. Then it was not your car. Silence. And emotional distress? He tried again. The judge leaned back slightly. This court does not compensate individuals for the consequences of their own financial dependence. That one landed hard. Then she spoke the words I didn't realize I'd been holding my breath for. Judgment for the defendant. Case dismissed. A pause. Mr. Hayes will also reimburse court filing fees. Just like that. It was over. Daniel didn't move, didn't speak, didn't argue. Julia leaned toward him, whispering something sharp. Mark grabbed his arm, pulled him back. And as they walked out, I heard it begin. This is your fault, Julia snapped. You told me she stole everything. Daniel said nothing. Mark just rubbed his temples, like he was finally realizing this wasn't something money could fix. I stayed where I was for a moment, letting it settle. Not victory, not revenge. Just relief. 4 months later, the condo feels different. Lighter. Quieter. Mine. I replaced the broken photo frame, not with a new picture, just empty space. Because I've learned something. Not everything needs to be filled. I started dating again. Slowly. Carefully. Someone who pays for her own coffee. Who doesn't turn concern into accusation. Who doesn't need me to shrink so she can feel bigger. And last week, I saw Nina at the gym. She nodded when she recognized me. Saw your ex's name on the court docket, she said. Looked messy. I smiled faintly. You have no idea. She tilted her head slightly. Looks like you won. I thought about that for a second. Then shook my head. No, I said. I just stopped losing.